I feel like I gotta. Hello, everybody. So it is currently like 5 in the morning. It's 4:50 a.m. and I should be in the bed, by all intents and purposes, but I'm not because I figured I would go live. This one's for Kizzy Cat and anybody not in the States or anyone who's awake. I think I was at work the day before yesterday, and I randomly got this is for Kirsty if she watches this. I randomly got like Arethusa foot. I was like, what? Because I've had Arethusa palm and Arethusa arm. Like, those are a thing. But I got Arethusa foot for like a hot 2 seconds. And I was like, whoa. But anyway, I think, excuse me, I think I'm going to switch up the deck that I use every week. So this will be the last of the Threads of Fate Oracle cards. I got the Rose edition. I don't think I ever actually mentioned what this deck was. And I might actually read the book today. Hopefully I'm not live long. But I was thinking about it yesterday. And I think what this deck was giving us in this week, it was the I Ching. I think it was one of the I Chings that came out where it was pitfalls. And it said that there are pitfalls along the path ahead. Nevertheless, it is still auspicious to proceed. And I was thinking about it yesterday. And it made me think of that shortcut energy. But the shortcut energy is, it's like when we hit a pitfall, but we don't fall into the trap. We keep moving forward. And a lot of that can be done through the read last time with minor strength, pre-strength, temperance, and then full strength. So I guess this will be the culminating oracle card. And we'll see what gives. I think that was it for that. Excuse me. Yeah, the Get Curious. Oh, Get Curious and Explore. Love this combination together. I've seen both of these cards recently because I was shuffling it and I noticed Get Curious and I was like, oh, I've seen that bird. And then I saw Explore. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. All right. Last oracle, final oracle. And then I'll probably go to bed. So, Dare to Dream is the card that flipped over. And then the Seeker is at the bottom of the deck with the seeds and the teeth. So the last one, it's like, it's very like, don't be afraid to dream bigger energy, or don't be afraid to like really go for it. Don't be afraid to like not sell yourself short. Don't be afraid to not talk yourself out of anything or talk yourself down from something. Don't settle. And then with the seeker, it's to go after it. Or it's to be of the mind to go after it. And as long as you're of the mind to go after it, you will receive everything that you need to get it. I don't know if doubt has too much of a place here. The Magi is under the seeker. And this is a card I believe we've seen. Excuse me. With the Magi, though, in this Dare to Dream, it is a space of creation, but it's a co-creation. And it feels like it's co-creation because the world, the universe, spirit, again, it's like as long as we're seeking and as long as we're moving, it will bring things to us for us to use in the creation. I was thinking about that movement in higher perspective that came out, I think on the second day I did this. And it's like not only is it moving to a higher perspective, it's also moving with a higher perspective, or moving like from the vantage point of a higher perspective. And since Dare to Dream is here, I'll go ahead and use the Mystical Dream Tarot. Oof, maybe this would be like nice and short. Less than 20 minutes. Wait. I should go live when I'm like on the verge of needing to go to bed more often. Then you might get a video that's not 3 hours long. But I ain't finished this one yet, so who's to say? It also feels like it feels like there's something that we're being led to. With these two cards. In the way it's like there are things that we desire. There are things that we want. There are places we're going to go. There are experiences that we're going to have. And the things that we desire and the experiences that we have lead us to greater and greater, to more and more. And it feels like there's something that the divine spirit universe is trying to get us to, or there's something that a part of us is trying to get ourselves to, but it might be like we won't necessarily get there in one go, or we won't necessarily know that it's there. And so it almost feels like something very peripheral. And then we come to a realization. And once we realize it, like that's the thing that we're supposed to go for. I don't know if it's hidden. I don't know. Oh, that was quick. Oh, okay. Well, now it's too many cards. Oh, look, it's the Dreamer of Wands. I saw that card. It was at the top of one of the decks. So first 2 cards flipped over, and then 15 cards flipped over. It's not 15, it's 4. So we get 6 cards in total. The first 2, it's the Wise Fox and the Spirit of Wands. The Dreamer of Wands is at the bottom of the deck. That's interesting. Why does this feel like some kind of like this? it's not the caves of creation. It reminds me of that. It's like there's this place that we go when we incarnate or reincarnate, and maybe it's like at the end of your life, you go and you leave a crystal, and then you live a new life, and at the end of that one, you leave another crystal. But a lot of this, when you go into your next life, you don't necessarily take the memory of those things with you. Now, this wise fox, I guess just immediately with this dare to dream, it feels like there's a crystal or there's a few crystals in here that are like important for some reason. Maybe it is, and this could not only be like, this could also be like multiple lives within the same incarnation. Like maybe there was a point in your life where you were a school teacher and you don't do that anymore, but the next thing that you're going into, it requires or it'll benefit you to remember something that you learned while you were a teacher or to utilize some connection or resource that you had when you were a teacher. So it's like you go back into the cave to find the teacher crystal and you take that with you into whatever you're doing next because it'll be helpful in some way. That was the thought that immediately came to mind. Maybe the wise fox is just like there are things that we experience in life that get us to help remember some of those things that we may have forgotten or to reactivate or to utilize certain skills, gifts, and abilities that we might have. I'm going to read the wise. I'll read this first. The Spirit of Wands. The Spirit of Wands is in tune with inner wisdom, the voice of the unconscious that rises from the purity of the clear crystal of truth. She trusts in the inner voice as she peers beneath the waking realities for guidance. She helps us to understand that what we may perceive as confining could, in reality, be liberating. Her crystal makes clear her sight, seeing within and beneath surface reality. She communicates with her feeling. She communicates her feelings through dreams and visions. She helps the seeker focus upon the crystal with its many facets and conveys the necessity of accepting the difficulty of the dark path. Her message is often challenging, for it frequently shines light upon that which is painful. Yet, this is the wisdom within as it emanates from the facets of the great crystal. This is truth. The Spirit of Wands hushes our distressed voice, urging us to be quiet, silencing our complaints as she moves us to go into the still, that we hear truth and understand the essence of our path. She warns against the easy realm, escapism, which will not lead us to our goal. Quietly, she speaks to us. Never cease to seek with the seeker hand. To open up, to call for truth, for understanding is a winding journey through many nuances, or through many mountains and valleys, lol. Incubate what arises from the depths. Allow it to shine like crystal until all is transparent, making the way for growth and wisdom. So we're talking about the path that ain't easy. Oh, she's the one that dances with death. I don't know what that means. There was a reading I did. I feel like there was a reading I did and I was using the vice versa. And I think I had to leave in that reading. But the back of death was there. And it was the corpses of the two men with the lady dancing in the back of the sign. I don't remember what that reading was, but it makes me think of this. The wise fox. Oh, that's death, number 13. LOL. Well, the skeleton kind of gave it away. Wise fox dances with death. A chubby angelic figure rests upon his whiskers, the intuitive senses of fox. Clever fox knows the truth about death, bringing the message that life does not end, that death is a mere portal into the realm of eternal life. The angel of truth rises from fox, from his intuitive knowing, pulling the whiskers of perception, attempting to get one's attention away from what appears as deep loss. Only by redirecting sight away from the sorrows of the moment, tragedies of physical death and loss, can we see beyond the illusion of death as an end to death, to the truth of death as a new beginning. The dance with death is one of joyful companionship, for death is merely the commencement of the eternal life that follows the physical incarnation. The dance, anchored upon Fox's sensory organ, connects the seeker to the truth of the frightening, sorrowful experience of loss. Fox, with his wisdom, presents a powerful ally, opening each to understanding beyond the darkness of death. If there is sorrow, we shall be visited by one who represents Fox, bringing communication of hope. We must remember that the angelic figure rests upon the whiskers of the fox, indicating the channels of communication between the worlds of dream and waking, of the living and the deceased. Consciousness is non local, neither encased within one physical form nor enslaved to one physical reality. Consciousness transcends time and space, and communication remains for those who seek the truth. Remaining open, we can transcend apparent loss and gain new understanding of the nature of life. Fox is a clever being, a creature of transformation, of magic, and of trickery. Fox knows well the trickery of the human eye, which sees only that which is before it. While the physical world presents death as a true and solid end, it is the work of trickery, for in truth, death is an opening to a new phase, and what is beyond the physical is real. Clever Fox sees through this falsehood and beyond to the portal of death, which is a doorway to the afterlife. The dance between life and death continues on, while the conversation among the foolish continues without end. Fox sees and holds the truth within himself. He is mindful that many choose to escape his company, seeing only danger and downfall. Many fail to understand, missing both Fox's wisdom and his angelic nature, the communicator that brings messages from the depths. They do not see beyond the corruption and dissolution of what appears as an end. Perception is the enemy, not death. There are stories about Fox, about those who try to outfox, outsmart him. Few win. Fox outmaneuvers the evil and voracious, symbolizing victory of intelligence over malevolence and brute strength. Through the wisdom of Fox and the communication of the inner voice, the angel, one can move beyond grief and loss. That was a lot. It was kind of packed, but there was one that says perception is the enemy, not death. And that stuck in my mind, and I had a thought, and I hoped I would remember it by the end, by the time I finished reading it, because I decided to finish reading it before I shared the thought, but I think that thought is gone. But it's interesting that both of these are about seeing clarity where there is only darkness. With the Spirit of Wands being like walking the difficult, dark path and using these crystals to gain some kind of clarity, to see light, to see truth. Truth being something that was in both of these. And then with the dance of death, it's like seeing beyond death in the way that we experience it, our own limitations. Perception is the enemy. Our limitations are the enemy. it's almost like being human is the enemy, but it's not because being human is inherently bad. It's because when we're human, it's like we only have our own experience to go off of, and we only have our own conception and perspective and perception of our experiences to go off of. And so whenever we encounter something, it's almost like, how else are we supposed to conceive of it besides any way that we know to sort of think about it? But it's like we're dealing with an energy, or we're dealing with a set of energies where what we know is not necessarily the truth. And this is interesting because I feel like belief has been a thing that's been coming up. And for me, there's a part of me that was very like, when the node shifted into Sagittarius, into Gemini Sagittarius, when the node first shifted into Gemini Sagittarius, I was hearing and seeing some like, it's time to get into the heart. It's time to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, the North Node was just in Cancer. So we should already be in the heart. So now that the North Node is in Gemini, from the heart, we should be able to do North Node Gemini things, instead of like, now that the North Node is in Gemini, trying to go back and like catch up on whatever we missed when the North Node was in Cancer. And so one day I was like, I wonder what it'll be like after the North Node moves into Taurus and the South Node moves into Scorpio. Like, are we going to be questioning our beliefs then? Because we didn't do it when the South Node was in Sagittarius, which South Node in Sagittarius, like, South Node in Sagittarius is like, this is what a textbook or a wise person would tell you. This is, they meditated and pondered upon the mysteries of the universe, or they went through a rigorous scientific approach, and this is what they say to be true. Where the North Node in Gemini is like, you don't need any of that. Just look at the world around you. Anything that you need to know, you can experience, and experience will teach you. Nature will teach you. Life will teach you, if you are of a mind to learn. But sometimes learning gets in the way of learning. Like Sagittarius learning can get in the way of Gemini learning. It's like if you go to school for something and then something happens in real life and you're like, well, in this one class they said it would be like this, or in the textbook they said it's this, and you're applying class and textbook to the situation in real life, but in real life it's not giving you the solution that the textbook said it would. My throat has just gotten like so dry. I wasn't gonna drink. Well, I was gonna drink, and then I was like, I'm not gonna drink. I'm gonna go ahead and drink because I got this little bit of wine I need to finish. I know I'm about to go to sleep. It's fine, but my throat is like, drink. I'm like, okay. This is a lot better chilled. Let me go ahead and wet this with some. What was I talking about? I don't even remember. Being human is the enemy. Perception is the enemy, not death. Which is interesting because that makes me think of the wisdom that I've come across, my wisdom that I've shared. And I'll call it my wisdom because it's how I've discovered I journey my path, at least for now. Like the thing about me seeking challenge, that might not be forever. I seek challenge now because I avoided it in the past. And through me avoiding it in the past, there were many things that I did not learn, or there were many things, opportunities that I didn't take. And now I want my opportunities because I want what lies beyond those opportunities. Like I want the opportunities beyond the opportunities. So now I'm like, okay, well let's get this done. Because if it's a challenge for me, obviously I need to master it so that if anything later in life requires it, I'd be better equipped to handle it in a more timely fashion. You know what I mean? But that could be a truth that doesn't necessarily, like, I may come to a point one day where I outgrow that truth, right? Then it's like I can handle challenge when it arises. I don't need to seek it. So yeah, I feel like those two cards. So it's the seeking. Well, that's what I said. That was the feeling I got with these. It's like through all of the seeking, there's something that we eventually find, and this is the thing that we're really going for. It makes me think of the star, specifically the star in the Wild Unknown Tarot, because it's because of a reading I did a minute ago. The star presented itself as like resting on a bed of light within the abyss. Like at the bottom of the abyss is this star that lies on this bed of light. I mean, the bed of light comes from the star, but still. And you can see it because that's the floor of the abyss. And so it's not like, because let's say like light can make it 5 feet in the abyss, right? So since it's on the ground, you can see the light. But if you're more than 5 feet from that star, you're not going to see it because the abyss is dark. But we have senses to navigate that darkness. But they're not ones that we like often engage because of our avoidance to darkness. And that's an avoidance to um, like not knowing things, to like things that we don't know. It's an avoidance to hurt or potential pain. But it feels like more often than not, or like most importantly, it's a resistance to like something that we don't know, and our need to feel like either we have some semblance of control or we don't. Because I feel like sometimes it can be easy to go so far into like we don't have control over anything that we don't really make empowered choices and decisions to like pursue things. Or it can make it easier to not be as empowered in our choices and decisions because we don't believe that there's much of any control that we actually have. We're subjected to the whims of the divine of the universe, and our choice doesn't really matter. So let's get into these next four. We have the Dream Protector. I think the Dream Protector is this beast. It's the beast that holds the diamond. That's that Nyx. Well, it's more the devil energy than Nyx. Maybe it's both. So in that one read I did, when I used the Revelations and Vitruvian editions of the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, on the Revelation side, there was the Page of Wands who went beyond. And then there was the one who was stopped by the Queen of Wands, the Ivory, or Golden Shield, the Golden Shield. And as soon as the Page of Wands, the Messenger of Wands, goes beyond their encounter, they face devil energy. It feels like that is the guardian of this, the protector of the dream. And there's no water allowed in that space. Interestingly enough, he keeps the water out. So we got the Dream Protector, followed by the Dreamer of Pentacles, another dreamer. The Ten of Swords, and Judgment. I feel like this is like portal after portal after portal. I don't know if the Dreamer of Pentacles is fully a portal though, because it's just a keyhole. So it feels like it's like a vision into a space that is very much not our own. Like this is a world of fire. Here's a glimpse into a realm of water. And then we have these two portals through the Ten of Swords and Judgment. Or maybe it's the same one, but as we get closer to it, after we make it past the bull, then we encounter Judgment before we go through the gate. And we see, you see those? Was that another dreamer? Oh no, it's the Spirit of Pentacles. This Spirit of Pentacles is behind that Dreamer of Wands. Spirits and dreamers. No lords or ladies, just spirits and dreamers. There's a lot of majors here. Majors, spirits, and dreamers. We got the Emperor and the Dream Protector, Judgment and Judgment, Death and the Wise Fox, Spirit of Wands, which is like Knight of Wands, Dreamer of Pentacles, which is the Page of Pentacles, Dreamer of Wands, and then the Ten of Swords. I've always seen this as a portal. I've always seen this as a gateway, as a doorway. And that rock face, that's a person cloaked in some kind of white robe. It's a ghost. It's a ghost. Death is an illusion. I've always seen that as a portal. Interesting. I'm not going to read all of these because that would be a bit much. Oh, dark pathways indeed. The Ten of Swords is here. I don't necessarily, because I am who I am and I navigate my journey how I navigate my journey, I don't necessarily feel the same way about the Ten of Swords as quite a few people. I see the Ten of Swords as a good thing. I spend enough time Eight of Swords and a Nine of Swords, and I'm like, oh, 10. Okay, it's over. But this is so much about how we navigate our paths and journeys. And it's so much about the pieces and parts of the journey that we are avoidant to or that we choose not to navigate. But sometimes it's the things that we fear or avoid the most that hold the most liberation for us. And it makes sense because if a fear is present, then it can be easy to not do something. But when you overcome or work through or learn to face that fear, Now, there's a whole bunch of things that you wouldn't do because of that fear that now you have the ability to do once you like work through it or even work with it in some way. It's interesting that there's progressively more and more water. So where we start or where we stand, it's like there's the dream protector that holds the water at bay. But while there is no water, we can see into this realm where there is a whole bunch of water. And then with the Ten of Swords, it's almost like what causes this Ten of Swords is like water is starting to pool in a space where it wasn't before. Or if it was a long time ago. And then in Judgment, like we end up in that world of water. It's all water. It's mostly water. The world that we saw through the Dreamer of Pentacles. But it's almost like we didn't realize or we didn't think that that the world that we end up in would be a mixture of the one that we were already in and the one that we see into. Because the sky still looks like fire, but the ground is water. And it feels like in the Dreamer, we thought it would be all of this and none of this. But the way it ends up playing out, it's like a bit of both. At least at this part, at least in this phase. I'm going to read Judgment because I don't know if I've ever read it before. Oh, yeah, I knew it was right there as soon as I turned back. Judgment sees the different levels of interpretation, communicating what rises from dream depths to view in the light of wakened reason. Justice sees the different levels of interpretation, where our enemy was perception in the wise fox. The eye that sees clearly is at the center of all true understanding, the marriage of the intuitive along with the rational, the union of waking and visionary consciousness. One reserves judgment if lacking a view of all sides of a situation, giving presence to the varying interpretations, perceptions, and views, which together present the entire story, the complete picture. No one position sees everything. It takes the union of all. The capability to see today in the light of yesterday and tomorrow allows one to view the unfolding of time, the cycling of patterns. It takes true judgment to know what to accept as truth and what to see for falsehood. It takes patience to await the fruition of dreams and plans. The judgment card displays the balance of justice with the waters of the unconscious flowing between them. Upon the balance rests male and female, the pair of opposites, light and dark, reason and intuition, waking and dream or visionary consciousness. Each is naked, presenting the truth of their being. In justice, they are naked to the truth, unfettered by the garments which hide their true nature. While the man is bathed in sunlight, the woman reaches to grasp the golden fish of wisdom from the waters of the unconscious, the domain of dream. Rational and intuitive consciousness must work together to arrive at the just picture of what is. On top of all, the angelic being is watchful, keeping all in equilibrium, honoring knowledge that comes from the depths, along with that which rides the rays of waking light. The angelic presence demonstrates the necessity of communication and cooperation of the rational and unseen worlds. The angel serves both, as guide and protector of harmony. Profound rebirth is possible as one realizes the divine fabric of all being. The angel is joined by the divine supreme in the form of the elderly white-haired father, the archetypal creator and sustainer, administrator of supreme justice. He holds up the columns, giving strength and balance to the manifest. The stability is essential and is maintained by these columns, reminding one of the great jed pillar upon which the innocent was birthed. Without balance, there is no justice. The image of the divine as benevolent yet wise old father reminds one that wisdom is most easily associated with experience and age. The turtle, who moves slowly through the many years, finally arrives at wisdom and can make fair judgments. The youth or innocent must labor and learn many lessons along a long and difficult road before they reach maturity and wisdom. Here, one may be called to a vocation, an awakening, as what was once hidden is now revealed. This arousal or vocation may come after a period of difficulties, which could continue if the call is not met. Only the prepared, the ones that journey through the darkness, carefully observing, may come to know the truth. In the center of all is judgment, the eye of the moon, inner sight, with the light of the sun, reason, joined in union, seeing truth. So again, difficult journeys, truth, the meeting of both of those things. Okay, that ain't my mama telling me I'm too loud, is he? She like, folks trying to sleep, shut up, go to bed. Here's the card, by the way. So you can see the man bathed in sunlight, the woman reaching for the golden fish, the divine supreme, the all of that, the sun and the moon, and there's something about this cave, though. There's something about what we are being reminded of or where we're being guided. I'm looking at this Dreamer of Pentacles, and I see the wolf that represents the moon, along with this dark crab that also represents the moon, or black moon lilith. Could be the dark side of the moon, and the rooster. And it makes me think of like a nightmare. It's like you're having a nightmare and then you wake up, but you wake up before the dream is resolved, so you don't necessarily know that that nightmare was going to turn into a dream. Like everything that happened in the nightmare to make it a nightmare was going to be resolved, and then it was going to be made better. But since you woke up before any of that happened, all you know is that it was a nightmare. Or since you don't remember what happened after you wake up, all you know is that it was a nightmare. Again, perception is the enemy. It's because of all of the things that we don't know, but we operate based upon the things that we do. What's interesting is, though, this woman has already had a conversation with the golden fish, but she had that conversation when she was clothed. It feels like, I would say, I would assume, so I could be completely incorrect, that golden fish gave her the knowledge and wisdom that she needs here. So she doesn't need to reach for the fish here. And maybe at this time it made a certain amount of sense for where she was at that time. But now where she is, she would be able to glean a different understanding because of how she's journeyed since this point. And so it isn't any new advice that she necessarily needs. And apparently, this is all about her. He doesn't make an appearance until this card. But all this is like, it's her. It's her. It's her. It's her. I mean, we see the dream protector, but the dream protector doesn't feel like the guy. What's interesting though is like with all of this focus on the woman, it's like our intuition, it's our discernment, it's our spiritual connection that needs development. It's not the world or our connection to it. It's not the masculine, it's not the rational. I think also with that judgment card, it's the emphasis of like, so I was talking about, oh my gosh, good morning. I am up very late, but I did take a nap earlier. How you doing, Eve? You're up early. I'm assuming you're not up late, but I did my throat was a little dry. I was feeling a little parched, so I decided I would drink a little 19 crimes to wet the whistle. It's interesting that it feels like it's not the world, but there's something that the world can't offer us when we are of the mind that we are of, and when our intuition and discernment are limited by the perceptions that limit them. And it's funny because you get up early on weekends. Is it to like upload or to record videos? Um, did you mention that before? Or did you just say you get up before work so you can start the upload before you go to work or something like that? I remember you mentioned like waking up at 5 in the morning to do something with videos or upload. Um, but before this, I was thinking about how like I use the cards so much that I don't work on developing my actual gift or gifts. Like for me, cards are definitely a crutch. They're a crutch that I love. But my gift lies elsewhere. It's a gift that, if I'm being completely honest, I don't necessarily like to use too much because, from my understanding of what it is, without much development, it's a gift of connection. And there aren't many that I feel comfortable or safe with practicing that gift with, on trying to like hone it and develop it any further, if I'm being completely honest. You read better in the mornings and your internet is low to medium speed. It takes longer to upload it. Okay. I'm waiting for my song. I see the songs going up, the new series. Is it The Doors? Yeah, I'm waiting for my The Doors song. Dare to dream is also interesting because it feels like when we're in a dream, there are things that we feel comfortable with. It's like there are realities that we feel comfortable with the idea of because it's a dream. It's almost like there's a part of us that realizes in some dreams, not every dream, but there's a part of us that realizes and recognizes that there are no stakes because when we wake up, everything will be different. So we can allow ourselves to truly do or be whatever. It's a lot less inhibited, the dream space. What's also interesting is that, like, it feels like in the process of seeking, we're handed a bunch of teeth and seeds. And it's like, this is not what I was looking for. And then the divine is like, what do you mean? Like, you have everything that you need. You said you wanted tomatoes where there's the tomato seeds, go plant them. And in a few months, you'll have your tomatoes. And you're like, but I wanted tomatoes like today, not like a few months from now. So, and the divine's like, I'm not understanding. Pisces and Taurus are back to back again. Ayy. I kind of like it when they're back to back, but then I also like it when they're not back to back because I don't have to wait for like the rest of the series to finish. It's fine. Especially when they're early. I'm like, oh, snap. But I like the anticipation. It feels like this is just vague enough. Take it as it resonates and allow it to unfold for you in the way that it unfolds for you. If there is any more, then I trust that you'll find it. Okay. So yeah, I think next time I'll move to a different oracle deck. It was a good week or so with the Threads of Fate. About manifesting the steps inside of the thing. Ooh, I like that. It's very much so that energy. It's very much so that energy right now. But it feels like before, when we manifested the steps, it was easier to see the steps as the steps because it feels like things were more light. But now that things are darker, without the ability to fully perceive or without that crystal clear clarity that light can give us, we don't necessarily know that, hey, this is something that I can use to get where I'm going. And not only can I use it, it's actually giving me something that I don't yet know I need. Maybe you have a feeling, you'll have a feeling. Ooh, you just gotta like follow up on it. Don't shy away. Transmute. It's back. And there's the Eye of the Explorer. Bottom of the deck is Shadow. Transmute Shadow. And under Transmute Shadow is the Weaver. The Weaver is the one who stitches together. And it feels like right now there's an abundance of shadow energy that we can't do anything with because we haven't positioned ourselves necessarily to be able to like work with shadow. Either we work against it or we try to force it. But there is wisdom in shadow, in our shadow. I guess in shadow. Because it's like, it's almost like, if there's it's like if it's like a movie or a TV show, and there are these two people who are like mortal enemies, they're rivals, they know everything about each other because they've been going against each other for so long. They know what makes each other tick. So if you need to know something about the other person, you can go to their rival and like get to know it. Obviously, you won't go with like, even though their rival might not have the best intention. I'm not going to say your intention can outweigh their intention, but it's like the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin has just as much to say, but it's a side that we continue to sort of like neglect. And I don't, I feel like we're getting to a point where we're not neglecting it necessarily as much, but it still feels like there might be a depth or a richness to it that we don't fully tap into because of our limited perception. There are things about it that we don't see to utilize whenever we are stitching and weaving. And Tuesday, so it's Taurus Wednesday. Because I'm assuming if Taurus was Monday, you would have told me about Taurus first. If you want to drop an unlisted link, I'm just flying. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I have been thinking about those spreads that I built. I only made it up through the Hermit. And I keep getting this thought to either like start running through them with somebody or with people or just release it. Like when I was at work yesterday or earlier today, I was like, I could just like make a video and be like, if you're someone that I've worked with and you know that I'd be comfortable working with you, and if you're interested, then reach out to me and like we can get started. It's been on my mind a lot. It's been on my mind a lot, but I'm really resistant to it. So I've run through the spreads with one person. Like I did it with them. There was another individual or two individuals that I sent the spreads to. There's one person I know who used it. Um, but the point of those spreads, it's basically like kind of sort of like how I do these, or what you would imagine, maybe what you might imagine to read. It's like I use my connection to help someone else use their connection to like get them where they want to go. And so sometimes like there are things that someone from the outside might see because they're not in it. And I try to be that person on the outside. And then sometimes I'm reminded by the cards that I'm the person on the outside. I'm like, okay, I'm on the outside. The same for me. I mean, I've already had a guinea pig. I ran through him with somebody before. And just like building spreads in general. Like there was a point in, like when I built those spreads, I would like build a spread and then I would go live and whoever I saw come on and be like, hey, you want to read? Like I just built this new spread and I need to know like if I like it or if it needs to be tweaked or anything. And it was interesting. I love doing it. Um, but for what I received and built these for what they were intended for, I don't know. I kind of want to start using them or start putting them out. But like I said, I'm like pretty resistant. And then like I'm working so much right now, I don't even know if I'd have like I'd hate to commit to something and then be like, hey, like I'm tired or hey, I had to go into work today, so sorry. Well, maybe I'll do it. We'll leave it up to Bixby. If Bixby says heads, I'll do it. If Bixby says tails, I'll consider it. Hi Bixby. Flip a coin.
All right, here comes the flip. Looks like it came up heads.
I guess I'm doing it. I mean, I think too, though, it's like there are some spreads that I build that aren't necessarily, but these were built with a certain intention. And they were built to like, as you go through each step, to like deepen and deepen and deepen and to evolve and evolve and evolve. And they're not necessarily ones that I it's almost like I feel like sometimes it depends on like the intent of like how it's going out to, if that makes sense. Because like if I were doing one that I would like post, then I think it would be different, and it would almost have to be more general to like accommodate because it's a general. But the spreads were built to give the potential to be more personal. I mean, they were built to be used personally. And so, like, to be a little less general, and that's why in some points it's kind of like vague ish, but the vagueness is intentional to allow whatever is within you or whatever your guides have for you to come through. So, but I got plenty of spreads that aren't those, so don't worry about it. And my wine is gone. So, I feel like most people who I'd be comfortable with doing this for have a way to contact me already. So if you want to do it, just let me know. Or I guess you could let me know whenever. I don't know. Let me know. Bixby said heads, and I've been like getting it enough that I can try to be less resistant. So basically, I built spreads around the major arcana. And let's see. Let me look at them. I haven't looked at them in a minute. I built spreads around the major arcana. I made it from like the Fool to the Hermit. And then my Surface book kind of crapped out on me. So I haven't necessarily gone any further. Why did I think I had those spreads on here? I feel like I have them on here. Or not. It's fine. Um, and so I think like one of the first ones, I've done a few of them on here. Like I did the seed spread, I think, and I did another one. I did it recently too. There's one spread I built. It was a Hierophant spread. The first one I built, so it's a combination of like layouts and stuff. It's a combination of a few things. Um, and some of the shapes or some of the ways that I lay the cards out and the number, the like the order that I lay them out in were built to mean something, to add a layer. And so when I did the layout for the first Hierophant spread, I couldn't get like the order that the cards were placed down in or what any of the meanings were. And I was like, this feels like it's a Hierophant beyond my ability at the time to connect to. So I made a second Hierophant spread. And that one I was able to do. It's a lot more modern, so it's easier. And I needed to make another emperor spread. I made one of them. I needed to make a second variant, but I never did it anyway. We'll see. We'll see if it becomes there. Excuse me. It was really eye opening the first time I ran through them, for me and for the person I ran through them with. And honestly, it was like I was like, oh my gosh, wait, because I was real confused. I'm like, I have no clue what this is. Like I can kind of feel it, but I didn't want to say it because I was like, I'm not just gonna necessarily be throwing that out there. But then the other person was like, oh, and I was like, okay, thank you, because like I was kind of feeling it, but like I said, I don't really know. This ain't me. This ain't how I operate. I can like through the power of story and metaphor, I can like feel into where this is going. But as far as like how it hits personally, that's for you and your guides and your team. And I don't know, it was interesting. It was eye opening for me. So, anyway, final card from the Mystical Dream. And this is a deck I have to split in half. So, we'll split it right here. I feel like the alcohol is starting to make me a little sleepy. Okay. The Dream Angel with the Four of Swords at the bottom. So here he is. Unlike the Ten of Swords, it's the Four. And we still get that same portal energy with the Dream Angel here. Oh, snap. I'm excited. Thank you. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it. It feels like with the Dream Angel and this Four of Swords, it's almost like with the amount of work that we've already done, with the healing that we've already done. And look, we see that turtle. So there is something about everything that we've already put into the process helping to make it easier. So the read is general, right? So it accommodates for a lot of people at a lot of different places and spaces along the way. I don't know if it's a readiness or a willingness. Because there is more flow in this Four of Swords than there was in the Ten of Swords. In the Ten of Swords, we saw like this gust of wind that was propelling you forward past the bull because it was Ten of Swords energy. And it felt like having to be pushed or feeling like you need a push because whatever the conception of the energy is. But with the Four of Swords, it's like it doesn't need that push to do it. It feels a little bit more willing. And so it plays out a little differently. The experience is going to be a little different. The experience will be when you don't fight the experience. Oh, well, he's back. The Dream Protector. Bottom of this side is the Ten of Cups. Interesting. And behind that Ten of Cups is our Dreamer of Pentacles again. It feels like this Ten of Cups is able to take multiple things into consideration. But with these feel a little less concrete. So it feels like theorizing more, or like feeling into something, intuiting what might be needed to get this egg to hatch. But I would be tempted to say that earth energy would help, because it feels like for me the Queen of Pentacles is the one who knows what anything needs to survive, thrive, and grow. Like Queen of Cups, King of Cups would do their best to like love and provide that like safe environment, and they would do their best, but they don't necessarily know. They just know like if I'm present and I'm loving, then I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing what is asked of me. But it feels like the Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, like they know what something needs to grow, to develop, to mature, to grow and develop. King and Queen of Cups might be more on them, or Swords might be more on the maturation side. Um, but that might be why we still sort of experience a little bit of delay, even if we are willing, even if we are sort of doing everything within our power, even if we're doing everything right. It feels like there's an energy of like, well, we just don't know what we don't know. And sometimes it's not a matter of what we're doing right or what we're doing wrong. Sometimes it's a matter of time. Sometimes it's a matter of positioning of external elements. Sometimes it's a matter of something else needs to happen first. And that was the thing about sort of like truth and justice. I was thinking about the thinker, and how it said in his entry, like he has no illusions about himself. Those aren't illusions cast by him on him to make him look, think, feel a certain type of way more or less than he is. And it also isn't an illusion about like who he is either. So he knows who he is. Because sometimes we don't like go into like ego and fear and stuff like that, but we just don't have a solid understanding of who we are, because how would we? Sometimes it is time, and if it is time, then we just we show up and we do our best. If we show up, we're open, we're doing our best, we're learning, we're loving, we're doing everything that is asked of us. So that is the conclusion to the Threads of Fate Oracle series season. The next deck I'll move on to will be, I don't know. But that was an experience. Excuse me. Yeah. Thank you, E, for popping by. I will be sure to check out that clip that you sent me, or the preview. The anticipation is there. All the best with your activities and plans this morning. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. If you're not, I hope you have a better one soon. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that when you need a bit of courage or bravery or direction or compassion or understanding or whatever, I hope you get it. I hope you find it. Because it's like when the first part of Leo season said, like, know who you are and what you want. I think sometimes there's more to us than we might think, or there's more to us than we might realize. Sometimes there is exactly to us as much as we fear there might be. All the best in navigating all of that, I guess. And I'll catch y'all next time. Bye bye, good night, or good morning for y'all who don't stay up until like 6 in the morning, who actually go to bed, because, that's amazing. No problem. Whoop, whoop. Ah!